Inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Good evening, I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on this week's Inside KELOLAND, we are talking with the Helpline Center about the resources available to you if you've been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. Plus, we talk with a financial advisor about what to do with your stimulus paycheck, as well as advice for people out of work due to the coronavirus. And finally, we are bringing you some of the positive stories from the week. But we start tonight with the CEO of the Helpline Center, Janet Kittams, who joins us now via Zoom. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us, Janet.
Absolutely.
Well, the Helpline Center has been doing so much to connect people with resources during this pandemic. Tell us how you're helping people across the state.
Sure. We're answering a lot of questions just about information about the COVID response, and then also providing resource information for people who are struggling. They may need food assistance, they may need rent assistance or other financial programs to help them get through this really difficult time.
But your phone has been ringing off the hook, especially for people who are looking for food.
Yes, we have had just thousands and thousands of phone calls from people from all over the state, quite honestly, that are looking for food resources. And most of these folks are people that have never had to ask for assistance or help before, but they find themselves in a position where their hours have been cut, their job has been cut, or they've been furloughed. And so they're really looking to just meet those basic needs of feeding their family.
And where do you direct them when you get phone calls like that?
Sure. A lot of communities are doing food distributions. There's certainly food distributions going on a regular basis in the larger communities like Rapid City and Sioux Falls. But then the smaller communities are also doing, have their local food pantries or other types of food distribution. So we keep all of that information in our database and give the most current information out to those callers.
Jan, how big is your staff there? And do they feel like they're maybe getting a little overwhelmed with all these phone calls?
Yeah, we have about just like 44 staff altogether. And this is certainly the busiest that we've ever been. I will say that. But my staff have been amazing. They have just completely stepped up to go 110% to answer all those incoming phone calls. I've had some staff that we have reassigned to our connection center to help answer those phone calls. So they've kind of left their other job duties behind to kind of step in during this time of crisis. So we have kind of made do, and I've also been able to hire a couple of additional staff. And then I had a few staff, former staff, who actually were in a position where their hours were cut at their other jobs, so they came back to work part-time for us. So that has helped out also.
And you just launched a new feature as well to help people who are making masks to donate them. Tell us about that program.
Sure. We were getting a lot of phone calls from nonprofits or healthcare facilities that needed the cloth masks to wear in public, and they needed some volunteers to help sew those masks. So we created a matching page on our website where if you are a nonprofit or a healthcare organization that needs those masks, you can sign up to say how many masks you need. And if you're a volunteer that can sew and make those masks, then you can sign up and pick what organization you'd like to do that for. And then you'll be directly connected to that organization with instructions on how to get those masks to that business or nonprofit.
Have you seen a big need? Is there people reaching out to you about masks?
Yes, we have many, many nonprofits listed from across the state, listed on our website that currently are in need of masks. So the need is definitely out there. We've certainly had volunteers that have stepped forward to help with that, but we're always looking for more.
Now, I know it's been a very busy year for you guys, from flooding last spring to the tornadoes to now the pandemic. How are you helping everybody like this?
Yeah, we have kind of just moved from one disaster to the other this past year. So this one's a little different in that it's a very long-term kind of with the end date is not in sight. And so that's been a little bit different for us to manage, but we've certainly stepped up to do that. But, each one of those disasters is really about helping people when they need it the most. And my staff at heart are caregivers. And so we're going to take care of people no matter what the disaster is. And so we're happy to do that. And
for our viewers, just to let them know, where can they find more information, resources, and stuff like that?
Sure. Well, people can call us 24 hours a day by just dialing 211, or they can go to our website, which is helplincenter.org, and they will find all kinds of resource information about the COVID response, about making the masks, or anything else they may need to know.
All right, Janet, we appreciate your time. Thanks for being on Inside KELOLAND.
Absolutely.
Still to come, many people are struggling to make ends meet during these uncertain times. We'll be talking with a financial advisor right after the break. Welcome back to Inside KELOLAND. Well, not only are people worried about their health during this pandemic, many are also out of a job or have reduced hours. Joining me now through Zoom is Travis Krieger, President and Financial Advisor of Swenson Wealth Management. Thanks for joining us, Travis. Let's start off by, people are they're going to be getting these stimulus checks from the federal government. What's your advice on how to use that money?
Yeah, we'd recommend everybody take a look at your personal situation a little bit differently. We've always encouraged and always have pushed our clients to say, you should really have 3 to 6 months of living expenses built in some type of an emergency fund. By emergency fund, that means it's liquid, it's safe, checking accounts, savings accounts, maybe some money market accounts. But, especially now with a lot of uncertainty, we're not sure how long this thing is going to last. Now it's probably more as important than ever to make sure that you've got a little bit of reserve built up in there. So, in the past, we've always said 3 to 6 months, depending on your current situation, your job, if you're comfortable that your income is going to continue to come in and your job is pretty safe, then maybe 3 to 6 months is still all right. But if there is some uncertainty, we're recommending maybe even going out 6 to 9 months where you can keep that stuff readily available. So,
and like you said, everybody's situation is different. I would imagine there are some people out there maybe haven't had a paycheck in quite a while, waiting for some unemployment insurance. They may have to use it for just emergency necessary things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we encourage you to keep that liquid because, in times of uncertainty, you want to have readily cash available. So, now on the other side, we talk to people that are comfortable. They feel confident with where they're at. They've got a good paycheck. They've got a good nest egg built up. So, we're having questions asked, well, what do we do with this stimulus? What are some other things that we can do? So, as a financial advisor, I feel like I'm obligated to tell you, you contribute to your IRAs, make sure your retirement is on track. For those of you that don't know, they've actually extended the deadline for 2019 to make contributions to your IRA. So it used to be August 15th. They've actually given you an extra 90 days. So you've got till July 15th of this year to make contributions for 2019. So, if you haven't done that, go ahead and take advantage of that. But, I'm also a big proponent of right now, putting that money back out into the local economy. There's a ton of small businesses here in town that I know need our help. Don, I know you guys at KELOLAND are doing a great job as far as putting them resources out on your website. So, these are people that have taken risks to build businesses and they're providing for their family and they're creating jobs for us. So I think it's extremely important for us to go out and support them guys right now. And then also just, if you can do it, there's a lot of nonprofits, there's a lot of charities out there that I think are really important that are probably could use some help. I know something that's near and dear to my wife's heart is the Boys and Girls Club. Personally, as an organization, we've done some stuff with them in the past, but with schools being out, some of these people being out of jobs, I know they could probably really use the funds and they do a great job with it. So there's some different opportunities and some things you could do.
I like what you said, support the local economy as much as you can.
Sure.
Here's a tough question. If people are out of work or have reduced hours, how should they prioritize where that money goes?
Well, the obvious answer is, food and shelter. Make sure that you're making your mortgage payments, make sure you're making your rent payments. Make sure you're putting food on the table, paying your utility bills, and covering the bases. One of the things that we've really been pressing everybody to do is kind of get back to the basics of finance 101. Go back and create that budget. It's something that seems so easy, but it's also easy to kind of stop doing. So I think if you sit down, if you're like me and my family, you're finding yourself with some extra time on nights and the weekends. I would sit down, spend 20 minutes. There's all kinds of resources online as far as helping you create a budget. We've got some offices or some things in our office that we could help you with. So sit down. I think once you go through that budget and figure out exactly where the money's going, it's going to be pretty easy to prioritize and figure out where you need to be allocating those dollars. All
right, Travis, we saw the stock market just plunge a few weeks ago, and a lot of people took some of their investments out. When's a good time to start looking at getting back into the market?
Yeah, we are. So we are cautiously optimistic on the market right now. Full disclosure for the disclaimer to keep my compliance guys happy. Obviously it depends on your time frame. It depends on your risk tolerance. But Historically, January through April, we see a lot of new money come in the door, generally in the forms of IRA contributions. 2019 was a great year in the market, so I think most people are aware that 2019 was a pretty good year. So towards the latter half of 2019, towards the end and the beginning of 2020, we were taking some profits and raising a little bit of cash in portfolios. So you take that and then you add on some of this additional money that we've seen come through our door from, really over the last 4 months. I will say we did start taking a position into some of these stocks. There's some stuff that maybe we looked at towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, that we just felt were a little bit overvalued. Right now, we feel like there's some companies out there that look really attractive again.
Yeah, getting back in the market, now would be probably a good time sooner or later, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we've, based off of, I always tell people we can kind of tell what's going on in the world by our clients. I've been at this for about 15 years. I will say in the month of March, we brought in more assets by far than any other 1 month that I can ever remember. So what that tells me is that people are confident, people are looking for some buys, and we're identifying big U.S. companies with strong balance sheets, companies that we think are necessities through this downturn, no matter how long it lasts, and then also companies that we think are going to come out really, really well on the other side. Buy low, sell high, right? I mean, that's what they always say. That's what I'm always looking for. Hey, real quickly, what about gold and silver? I keep hearing somebody advertising about gold and silver. Gold and silver is you're going to start seeing the people come out of the woodworks, trying to sell it. You're going to get a lot of calls. I'd caution people, be careful of the scammers out there. Historically, gold and silver is a nice hedge to have in your portfolio. We have recently seen a nice little run up in gold. It was kind of a weird, March was different where everything was selling off. It was pretty much all asset classes across the board. So I can't really tell you that it was a great hedge in the portfolio, like historically some people might have thought it would be. But it certainly has a place. We have a couple gold companies that we have been looking at. We have taken some positions and some stuff. So, it should be something you should certainly be looking at in your portfolio.
Okay, lots to talk about with the family. Okay, thanks a lot, Travis Krieger. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, after the break, we're going to show you some of our favorite positive stories of the week, including a record-breaking day for births at Avera. We're back after this. Welcome back to Inside KELOLAND. Last week was a busy one for Avera McKinnon as the hospital broke the record of the number of babies delivered in one day. KELOLAND's Lauren Solich spoke with the OBGYN who was there through it all.
Right now, the world could use whatever reminder it can get that life is still happening, and the birth of 16 babies in one day last week did just that.
In light of everything going on, all the sickness and the uncertainty and the suffering that people are going through, it was really an incredible day to continue to bring life into the world and to put smiles on people's faces and help them start their families or grow their families.
Dr. Catherine Brockmeyer says it was a record for both herself and the hospital.
The previous record was 15, is my understanding, with 3 doctors involved in the delivery of the 15 babies. So I guess I would say we kind of blew it out of the water last week.
Of course, there are precautions that are being taken because of the pandemic, but Brockmeyer wants to remind expecting mothers that they are here to help.
Fortunately, my profession, we still get to experience one of the greatest joys, and we'll be there to do that with you regardless. So we want that to be a really positive experience for you and your loved ones.
Brockmeyer says although 16 babies were born, it was done in 13 deliveries with a set of twins and a set of triplets making their way into the world. Congratulations to all the families. In Sioux Falls, Lauren Solich, KELOLAND News.
Oh, while many people are working from home, truck drivers are still traveling cross-country, delivering essential items. The Dakota Horizons Girl Scouts wanted to show their appreciation with, what else? Cookies. KELOLAND Sydney Thorson stops by Floyd's Truck Center, where truck drivers are getting a sweet surprise.
Here at Floyd's, truck drivers will stop by on their routes when they need to get something fixed. What they didn't know they were getting was a fresh box of Girl Scout cookies.
They've been experiencing some crazy times, not able to get into restaurants, having to park their trucks and walk through drive-thrus.
Matthew Trigo stopped at Floyd's because his truck was having some issues.
You get that depressing feeling where you don't know when you're going to get going again.
When he got here, his day quickly turned around.
It really makes you feel like people are still being kind as best they can and still trying to practice social distancing, and they really made, the guys and I that are up here feel really good. Really appreciate it.
From Thin Mints and Truff Oils to Samoas, truck drivers like Trigo get to choose from 250 boxes of goodies.
I always think a box of cookies brings a smile to anyone's face because it's a box of goodness, and it really it's something to know that for the truckers to know that we're thinking of them.
Grace is a Girl Scout with Dakota Horizons. She says she enjoys giving back to the community and wants to continue making donations in the future.
I think we'll always continue donating cookies.
Because all it takes is a single box to turn a bad day into a good one. With Positively KELOLAND, I'm Sydney Thorson.
The Dakota Horizon Girl Scouts had to close down booths to avoid face-to-face interaction, which meant they had some inventory available to donate. Well, it may not be until the fall, but volunteers with the Sanford International are finding unique ways to help out during the pandemic. KELOLAND's Max Hofer has the story.
Volunteers at the Sanford International have a lot of drive, and while that season can come to an end, the need to help out doesn't.
My mom and I really just went out to Hobby Lobby, bought a sewing machine and some bolts of fabric.
Philip Petrasco is a regular volunteer at the fall tournament, but he's already in full swing making face masks with his family.
We've made somewhere around 50 masks by now.
He's one of 45 volunteers working from home to make these for the medical staff who are fighting off the coronavirus.
We were brainstorming of what can we do during this time, because that's what our event is all about. It's coming to put on a world-class event for the community, but then also being a steward of the community.
Originally, they planned to use leftover polos, but after finding out the material wasn't suitable, they shifted their focus. Now they're making cotton masks and are seeking donations of fabric. So far, they've received 50 yards.
We still are about 120 yards short of where our total goal is about 2,000 masks total.
In the end, they sort of look like just like a regular surgical mask. They've got these pleats in them and then these bias tapes that we've sewn together.
Petrasco says that it's a service that affects him on a personal level.
My father's a physician at Sanford, and so seeing him and other medical professionals really putting themselves on the line in front of this epidemic, seeing their contribution is a little bit greater.
Nobody's ever experienced anything like this. I think companies and organizations are going to be remembered of how they helped out and how they reached out to other people during this time.
It does feel really great that even us as just simple people staying at home in this quarantine are able to give back and help the community.
KELOLAND's Max Hofer reporting. In addition to the masks, they've also donated 280 outwear pieces to Sanford Hospital. If you'd like to make a donation or offer any kind of help, we have a link for you under this story at KELOLAND.com. After the break, we have more positive stories, including an increase in pet adoptions during the pandemic. Inside KELOLAND is back right after this. You've heard of curbside pickups for restaurants, but how about curbside pet adoptions? That's what the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society is doing now because of the threat of the coronavirus. As you're about to see, pet adoptions are on the rise as more and more people turn to animals as a source of companionship amid feelings of cabin fever and loneliness.
Come here, Diesel. Come here, Diesel. Good boy.
Metal Bothwell Flandreau is one of the many people who have found a silver lining in the COVID-19 pandemic, and his name is Diesel, a 2-year-old pit bull terrier that she's rescuing from the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society.
We were looking on the website, and he was the only one that really stood out to me.
Diesel is mild-mannered and isn't camera shy either.
His caption, the last thing they put on there is, "Can I be Instagram famous with you?" And after that, I was just like, I need you. I need you in my life.
A growing number of people are adopting pets during the pandemic. At the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society, they're now doing curbside adoptions.
It's just kind of an idea that we came up with to get animals adopted that's safe for the public and for the staff.
The animal shelter is still open, only operating under tighter restrictions.
We do have to be, fully screened. We are, instead of doing applications and doing our interviews on site, we're doing them over the phone now. A lot of emailing back and forth.
Diesel will join Nala, another rescued dog, at her new forever home.
I love watching my grandpa with this one. She's literally his world. His children hate it, but you know.
The two had an introduction meeting to make sure they get along with each other. Meadow was thrilled to see the animal shelter was still doing business.
I think it's great. I didn't think about it, you know, that they would stay open and at least go this far for curbside. I think it's great. They shouldn't be kept in a shelter too long. It does get overwhelming, all the different dogs and obviously the process. So they're probably here a lot longer than they need to be with a whole coronavirus outbreak and everything.
The numbers prove the program has been a success.
Since we started curbside adoptions as of today, 134. A lot of people have more time at home. I think that's probably why we've seen the biggest rise in them. More time to spend with animals, get them acclimated to homes, things like that. We've had some people, you know, say they're going to be working from home. It'd be nice to have a companion. Now's the best time to do it for them. So, yeah, we just try to help them, you know, find a companion during these uncertain times.
But there are still over 150 pets here still waiting to be adopted. Only Diesel won't be one of them.
And that's good. They all need forever homes. It's really great that they decided to do something like this.
And if you're thinking about adopting a pet and would like to check out curbside adoptions, we've attached a link to the website under the story at KELOLAND.com. Well, many of you are probably itching to get into your garden this time of year. After weeks of uncertainty, Knobloch's greenhouse in northwest Iowa opened its doors last week. Darren Knobloch says that the business isn't expecting this to be its best year, but he's encouraged by the tremendous online interest.
We've been blown away. We've been surprised by the reaction online, which has been very good.
No more than 50 customers will be allowed inside the greenhouse at a time to the shop. Employees will be wearing masks and gloves, and they urge customers to do the same. Well, that is all the time we have for this week's Inside KELOLAND. Make sure to join us tomorrow night for an extended 6 o'clock as we answer your COVID-19 questions. We'll be talking with health officials and government leaders about the latest developments of the pandemic and how you can protect yourself and those around you. If you have questions, send us to KELOLAND.com. Just fill out a form and your question may appear on our show. Be sure to have a great night, everyone, and thanks for watching.